Hello everybody, it is better to rent or to buy a home? This tutorial is based on my experience. I'm not a professional, but I have analyzed different scenarios to understand what is better to do, and I will explain it you briefly, but please speak with a professional before taking important decisions. There is no optimal decision between rent or mortgage, it simply depends on some conditions we prefer. For example, if you have to move often due to job, you want to avoid maintenance and risks, then the rent would be better. If you want to save money investing in your home, and be more free to use your house as you want, then a mortgage would be better. Let's have a look on money with a simple example. Here you can see the amount of money spent from 2020 to 2050. Renting means paying every month a fixed amount of money, in a never-ending loop. Currency is not important here, so this could be dollars, pounds, or other currencies, it doesn't matter. If we consider a rent of $1,000 for example, after about 30 years, you spend more than $300,000. So if we use another graphic, and we consider this area as the total amount of money spent, the whole area can be considered as lost money. So, the total amount of money of the rent, is money that you lose. Okay fine, but let us have a look on a mortgage. Is the mortgage really better? This is a typical scenario of a mortgage. This is the total amount of money spent through time. As you can see, after about 20 years from the beginning, the spending curve lowers, and this is the moment where you close the mortgage, and you have only residual costs. Let's concentrate now on the money spent during the mortgage. The area of this graphic is the money spent for the mortgage. The bank lends you money earning interests, and you pay both with your monthly payment, a quote is called principal, and a quote interests. This is a typical scenario of a mortgage payment. At the beginning the interest quote is higher, and from time to time the interest quote decreases. For example, considering a monthly payment of about $1,000, in year 2020 about $700 are interests, while in year 2035 about $500 are interests, and in 2045 only about $200 are interests. If we have a lower amount of loan, or the interest percentage is lower, we have this next scenario. As you can see, the area of the interests is lower as in the previous example. If we ask for a bigger loan, or the interest percentage is higher, we get this next scenario. As you can see, the area of the interests is bigger as in the previous examples. The key to understand if it is better to go for rent or mortgage, is related to interests as you can see. Comparing the rent with the other mortgage examples, if the red interest area of the mortgage is much smaller as the red rent area, then mortgage is better. Let's put some number in a table to understand this. Let's begin with a 15 years time slot. Here we compare a 15-year rent situation, with a 15-year mortgage. Let's consider a house with a rent of $1,000, and a similar house with a price of $240,000. Let's consider we have $40,000 available, so we need a loan of $200,000. The $40,000 we use in this operation of buying a house, could be used for other investments, that could easily gain around $15,000 in 15 years. This is an amount that we consider as a loss in this case. A loan of $200,000 for 15 years has a monthly payment of about $1,400. This is needed to pay back the loan and the interests, to the bank. The mortgage has some additional costs considering taxes, maintenance of your home, and insurance. There could be other costs, here we are considering the main ones. In 15 years we consider $24,000 of taxes, $20,000 for maintenance budget, and $38,000 for home insurance. Considering all this costs in the monthly payment, the amount rises to over $1,800. Loan of $200,000. We consider in this example a fixed interest of 3% for the loan. 15 years. After 15 years, in rent you spend a total amount of $180,000, while with a mortgage, the total amount spent in 15 years is about $370,000 high. $49,000 of interests. This is the result of a 15 years loan, with an amount of $200,000, and 3% interests. In 15 years we have about $24,000 of taxes. This could be different from state to state. We consider a budget of $20,000 for maintenance of your house, considering a house in good conditions. Insurance of about $38,000 in 15 years. So, after 15 years the whole amount of rent is lost. We lose $180,000 in 15 years. While if we consider the mortgage, we have a loss of about $146,000. This is the sum of lost investments, interests, taxes, maintenance, and insurance costs. By end of the mortgage, we have a positive situation for the mortgage case. This saving is the difference between the rent loss and the mortgage loss. By mortgage end, you have only residual costs, due to taxes, maintenance, and insurance, with a monthly amount of about $460. While the rent goes on with about $1,000 per month. For this reason, after 40 years, the total savings of a mortgage operation is of almost $200,000, compared to rent 1. Total savings after 40 years are more important of the savings by mortgage end, as they consider a longer time range. What happens with a 20-year mortgage? Now we have a 20-year scenario, and as you can see, the total monthly payment is reduced to about $1,580, while the total savings after 40 years lower to $169,000. The same can be calculated for a 30-year mortgage. I pay back the loan after a longer time, the monthly payment is lower, and the total savings after 40 years are lower. And we get the same scenario considering a 35 years mortgage. As you can see, the total savings after 40 years are much higher in the 15 years mortgage, instead of the 35 years mortgage. This because the total loss increases with the interests, as we can see in the graphics shown few minutes ago. This means that to reduce the red interests area, we have to try to reduce the mortgage time. The more time you hold the bank's money, the more interest you pay for that. A shorter mortgage means higher monthly payments, so you have to be careful and prepare an emergency budget if don't have economical margins. The other information we get here is that with this example, in every case the mortgage is better than rent, but is this always true? No, it isn't. We have calculated everything considering a fixed interest rate of 3%. But what happens if the interest rate is equal to 5%? With a 5% interest rate, all the orange fields are much higher, and the total savings after 40 years are reduced. In the 35 years mortgage case, we can see that after 40 years, the rent permits you to save money, compared to the mortgage. Before taking a decision, you should calculate your best scenario. I'm preparing another tutorial to choose your best mortgage if needed. So, thank you very much to watching Simple Money Tips. We are working on other useful tutorials. If you have questions, write them down here. If you want, leave a like or subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.